Martinez is, he was a known drug kingpin from the 80s, a convicted murderer, and one of his victims, his own partner and friend, Rich Porter. Martinez was notorious, so much so they did a movie about him.
Reports say Martinez had run a cocaine empire in New York in the 80s. The 2002 movie Paid in Full was based on his life.
He was one of the city's most notorious drug dealers, famous since the 1980s for his murderous ways and mountains of cash and drugs, immortalized in dozens of rap songs and the movie Paid in Full.
Got introduced to AZ, this big player, young kid in the game.
The nigga just totally took charge of shit, man, you know what I mean? A didn't have to tell him what to do and how to move. He knew how to move, you know what I mean? The nigga was a wolf.
Was a cake copper, ate the chopper, now we got a great chopper. Harlem, Brooklyn, Philly, the whole state's proper.
Cruise line pulled to Aruba for a while, yo. Pump the valve so I could pal though. Then become a Harlem kingpin, just like Alpo.
That everybody wants a piece of the pie.
A whole generation of kids, man, are being lost to this shit. The role figures that they have, you know, guys running around in BMWs and Mercedes with gold chains and, you know, bracelets and things like that. You know, kids want to be like that. They see these guys. They want to be the same way. And the only way to get that way is to sell crack.
When I heard about these murders and all that, it was like, nah, man, it can't be talking about the same dude. That just sound like if he was a monster or something, man.
Alpo was the closest thing to Don Corleone, a Godfather guy, that we had. He gave orders, other people killed.
Poe had the money and the coke, Wayne had the power. If you're gonna get something from Alpo, you best to pay it back, because if not, Wayne is gonna handle it.
How many different crews tried to kill you in D.C.?
In D.C. I probably had about 3 different crews trying to come at me, and you know, they was coming at me, but they wasn't for real though, because they knew who I had with me, man. They knew I had killers, man.
Real shit, chair. Alpo bought his bricks here.
Albert Martinez, aka Alpo, was born on June 8, 1966, in East Harlem, New York, also known as Spanish Harlem. He came up in the East River housing projects, and his father wasn't around from the moment he was born. His mom, Miss Martinez, did the best that she could to provide for Alpo and his younger sister. She would sign him up for different programs and activities to keep him out of trouble. He went to different camps and was a regular at the local Boys and Girls Club. He also participated in the Fresh Air Fund, where inner city kids would get to go live with an adopted family for some time during the summer. Alpo would go and live with the Clinton family. They stated that the first time he came to live with them, he was the most likable kid that they ever met.
He was just part of the family. We just accepted him to come. We just liked to have him every year.
He really was a good kid. Nobody, I can't imagine anybody not liking Albert, and that proved to be the case once he got here. You know, when your first time you met him, you just liked him.
He was like a brother to their only child, and he became a son to them. But although he got the chance to see a different side of life and how other people were living, he always had to face the reality of going back to the projects in East Harlem. His mom would do the best that she could to keep him on the straight and narrow path, signing him up to become a cadet, which inspired Alpo to want to become a Marine one day. But despite his mother's best intentions, it was a struggle to put food on the table. It was hard surviving in the projects, and eventually Alpo would become a product of his environment. And as a way to make some money, he started doing petty crimes with his childhood friends, Meech and Money O. One of their top ways to get money was throwing a trash can off the bridge onto FDR Drive, causing traffic to stop. This would give Alpo and his friends enough time to creep along the freeway barrier, looking for nice vehicles, people that might have money, jewelry, anything of value. After spotting their target, they would take anything that they wanted before running back to the East River housing projects that were close by. Alpo would move on from petty crime to selling drugs for a local dealer by the name of Petaway. He started selling heroin for him, and when the older street hustlers would ask Petaway what a 13-year-old Alpo was doing on the block at 5 in the morning, he would tell them he'd get into the cash. Alpo was hungry. He wanted to be the #1 hustler in Harlem. At a very young age, his name would begin to ring out in East Harlem, but eventually he would get busted, and his mom would contact the Clinton family to let them know that Alpo had been getting in trouble, headed down the wrong path. The Clinton family would send for Alpo, and when he arrived, they asked him what was going on. He told them that he was just a drug runner, and that the only thing he would do is move drugs from one place to another. But the Clinton family could tell that there had been a change in Alpo. He was wearing flashy jewelry, the newest clothes and shoes, and he had a pocket full of money. This was the late 70s, and it was uncommon to see a kid so young with so much cash. The local kids in the neighborhood noticed as well. According to the Clinton family, they loved hanging around the charismatic Alpo and would follow him around everywhere that he went.
He got a phone call from his mother, I think, asking if he could come up here.
When he came up the last time and we asked him what trouble he was in, eventually when he told us, he said he was a runner, and we, I think you said that was carrying drugs or something from one place to another.
The summer of 1981, when Alpo was 15 years old, would be his last with the Clinton family. He was no longer a little boy trying to find his way. He knew what he wanted to become. He wanted to be the most legendary hustler in Harlem. Alpo decided that he was tired of selling small amounts of heroin on the corner for older dealers and became a stick-up kid. His mentor was a man by the name of Randy Love, a well-known ruthless hustler from Harlem. He would take Alpo under his wing and introduce him to the other side of the game. Alpo already knew how to get to the money, but Randy would introduce him to the violence and what he needed to be willing to do if he wanted to survive. This is when Alpo would begin to make his transformation from just a teenage street hustler to becoming the Wolf of Harlem.
His game wasn't aggressive at all.
When he got with Randy, the beast came out with him.
When Alpo met Randy, somehow Randy installed an aggressiveness in him, and he just went ahead and did his damn thing.
He was very street smart. And he will observe everything.
Nigga had the eye of the tiger and he was hungry, man.
Poe wasn't drinking, Poe wasn't smoking no weed, Poe didn't do nothing. Poe was strictly about getting paper and putting that shit away.
It's some shit like LeBron James got it. Michael Jordan had it. Poe had it.
Alpo and Randy devised a plan to rob big-time Colombian and Dominican drug dealers for keys. Alpo was Puerto Rican, but due to his complexion, many people assumed that he was just a black man. Growing up, the other kids would call him Negro because he was considered to be dark for a Puerto Rican. This would work to his advantage in him and Randy's robbery plans. He would go to the Colombian and Dominican drug houses, making it seem as if he was just a small-time dealer looking to make a deal. And while they would speak Spanish, assuming that Alpo didn't understand the language, he would be scoping the place out, identifying where they put the money, the drugs, where the security was at, getting a layout of the whole scene. After reporting back to his crew, they would make their plan, kick down the door, lay everybody down, and steal all the work. Alpo loved the excitement, the thrill of the streets, but he was always looking for his next opportunity to move up in the game. Sticking up local dealers with his crew made him decent money, but Alpo wanted more. He decided to get into the cocaine business. He took $10,000 that he saved and bought a storefront in East Harlem. He ran a small crew out of the spot, and they were making pretty good money. But Alpo didn't have a steady supplier, and droughts would come often, affecting the business. He knew that he needed to get down with the right crew, and he wasn't above asking to get put on. Alpo already knew of a person that he felt could help him elevate in the game. A teenage hustler from the West Side. Whenever you mentioned money or drugs in the early to mid-'80s in Harlem, you had to mention his name, AZ. He started out working at Junior's dry cleaning, and in the 9th grade, he decided to drop out of high school, assuming that if he was able to work full-time at the dry cleaners, he would make more money, but he was wrong. His salary would remain the same, $75 a week. Junior didn't believe in raises. He tried to hustle by selling bootleg liquor out of the dry cleaners on Sunday, a day that they didn't sell liquor in the store. With this hustle, he was able to double his money, turning the 75 into 150. But that wasn't nearly enough to help his family the way that he wanted to. And in 1983, A would watch a movie that would have a major impact on his future. Starring Al Pacino as Tony Montana, Scarface. He came from the dirt, but rose to absolute